Demographic trends have a profound impact on the linguistic preferences of different sections of population. The linguistic trends in any part of the world depend on the following aspects of people's lives. Number one, where they live, for example, which part of the world they live in, and within a country, whether they live in an urbanized area or in a rural area. Similarly, what their basic needs are, whether their basic need is a quality education or livelihood, or all they need is just food on their plate, etc. So, what their basic needs are. Also, what kind of work they do, whether they are highly qualified individuals engaged in certain prestigious professions like medicine, lawyer, marketing, etc., or whether they are skilled workers. If they do not have a very high quality of education or very high qualification, they are still skilled in their own areas, or whether they are only people who can do menial jobs, who are just laborers. Majority of the population comprises people who are neither skilled nor highly qualified, etc. So all these things together determine the linguistic preferences of the people in different parts of the world. The difference in the growth rate in different parts of the world, especially the developing and developed countries, has created a difference in the median age of these countries as well. For example, in the more developed countries, in fact, the 17 most developed countries of the world, the median age is likely to become 50 in a few years' time. Whereas in developing countries, which comprise a large number of younger population, the median age is something around 15 to 25 years. So in some countries it is 15, in other countries it's 20 or 25. Both these scenarios, a higher younger population or a higher older population, has its own issues. For example, a higher younger population has a lot of issues, and Pakistan is fully familiar with those issues, is aware of those issues. To start with education, there is a large number of children who need to go to schools, but there aren't enough schools, there aren't enough teachers. Also, we do not have enough resources to feed all those young people. So the problem of mortality, providing them health care. Also, when there's a large number of younger population, they also need employment opportunities. So a developing country may not have enough employment opportunities for the entire young population. On the other hand, a higher older population has its own problems. There may be lots of jobs available, but not enough people to work on those jobs. If there are lots of older people, they need to be taken care of, but there are no young people to take care of them. Also, there's nobody to provide them health care, etc. So both these scenarios, higher older population and a higher younger population, both these scenarios have their own issues and challenges. This figure tells us something about the population growth rate by world regions, or the population of different world regions. If we take a close look, we can see that the largest population is of Asian and African countries, whereas the richest regions of the world, for example, Europe, North and Central America, etc., they have comparatively smaller populations. Many of the poorest countries of the world are located in Africa, for example, Congo, Niger, Eritrea, African Republic, etc. Similarly, Asia also includes many very poor countries, for example, Afghanistan, first of all, then Bangladesh, Nepal, Yemen, etc. So, the population is increasing in the region of the world which have mostly poor countries, whereas the population is very small compared to these Asian and African countries. Population in the more developed countries of the world is comparatively much smaller. Because of decreasing young population in many developed countries of the world, the need for migrant workers has arisen. To support the economy of the country, they need migrant workers who can come and work in these countries. Because of the presence of these migrant workers, the ethnic and linguistic profile of the destination country completely changes. For example, there are lots of Pakistanis living in, let's say, Canada, Australia, England. And because of their presence, the people, the native people in these countries strongly feel that the ethnic and linguistic profile of their countries is changing, which is also true. Um, the reasons behind people's movement, the demographic changes which are taking place in the world because of the movement of the people, they are mostly because of these reasons. As we've just discussed, migrant workers have to often move to the countries where there's a demand for skilled younger population. Similarly, these days, with so much disturbance in the world, a large number of refugees and asylum seekers also move from one place to the other, go to more developed countries where they have more security and peace. Immigrants, migrant workers would go to a country to work only, to earn their livelihood, to earn some money, whereas immigrants would like to move to a new country permanently. They want to leave behind their own homeland, their own country, and move to a new country. Again, we have so many Pakistanis and also people from other neighboring countries immigrating to more developed countries like Canada, America, Australia, England, etc. And then another reason for the movement of people across the world is tourism. Business workers is yet another reason because of globalization. The business relationship among different countries is also increasing, and business workers, people who travel around the world or travel to different countries for business purposes, is also increasing. And then there is a lot of troop movement these days. Ever since the Iraq war, there has been a large number of American and also American troops and also troops from other countries stationed in different parts of the world, Iraq, Afghanistan, etc. So this troop movement also affects the linguistic profile of the country or affects the linguistic choices of the people to some extent. And also then emergency workers or aid workers. For example, the USAID is the United States Aid Agency, and we have a large number of USAID workers working in Pakistan and many other parts of the world. According to an estimate, the total number of international migrants in 2017 was 258 million, and this is 3.4% of the global population. So you can well imagine the large number of people who go to other countries for the purpose of job and for the purpose of earning money. And because of this movement in large number of people, the the changes which the destination countries experience include changes in the linguistic profile of their country. Of course, migrants move to a new country or go to another country for a job, etc., because they seek a better life. They think they will have a better life in a more developed country. Similarly, immigration of skilled workers is the reason for counterbalancing the aging workforce. Immigration is welcomed by the countries which have a high number of aging population to obtain support from the younger population for their economy, etc. However, immigration, migrant workers, all these processes, all these things have consequences. Like we have already said, the linguistic profile of the destination countries change, and also the social profile of the destination countries change. Of course, there are people with different ethnicities, different religions, different cultural values. All these things change the ethnic profile of the country as well. London, for example, is said to be the most multilingual city in the world, with over 300 languages being used in London alone. This increase in the population of London and the movement of people speaking different languages to London is because of many reasons. One was the freedom of labor movement within European Union. So until Brexit, until the point when Britain exited the European Union, there was an influx of workers from Eastern European countries to the UK, especially Poland and many other Eastern European countries, Lithuania, etc. Because of this large number of migrant workers from countries which are non-English speaking, there has been an emergence of new linguistic communities. For example, Lithuanians who are learning English, so they are multilingual in, let's say, their own language and English. Because of the immigrants and also migrant workers who have to live in a country for some time for a job, etc., the demand for English has also increased, because these people, if they have decided to live permanently in an English-speaking country, or if they are there for a few years, in both the cases, they have to know the language of the destination country to work there efficiently. Another important factor behind the popularity of English or the demand for English is the increase in tourism. Although tourism has increased a great deal in the last few years, the traveling now is not to English-speaking countries, but the traveling is mostly between non-English-speaking countries. For example, Chinese going to Spain, for example, or Japanese visiting France, etc. So because of this traveling, a lot of movement of people between non-English speaking countries, the role of global English has also increased. So these are the situations where people need to speak, to communicate face to face using a common language when they have different first languages. So they, of course, then resort to English. And in this way, the role of English as a global language is increasing.